What are the best and worst matchups for your quarterbacks and running backs in fantasy football for week 10? Here's breaking down the rankings for both positions, plus start set advice on those tough calls as we begin another edition of Locked On Fantasy Football.
Are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Vinnie Iyer, and I'm not doing this. I'm writing about NFL and fantasy football for sportingnews.com. Check out the column I have up right now. It's the Decider every week, your start, sit advice, plus lineup rankings. We've mashed that all into one based on the matchups, other factors, and things that you need to know when you're playing these guys in terms of usage. And in general, the way they're playing is also very important when you're making these calls. So we're going to break those down for you at quarterback and running back on today's show as we take you deep into matchup Wednesday. We'll have matchup Thursday tomorrow. We'll cover the wide receivers, tight ends, and streaming defenses that you can look at there this week. We will dive into the quarterbacks momentarily. Before we do that, I got to tell you that this episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season, more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. We are free and available to you on all platforms. All right, let's dive right into the quarterback rankings. And we have a concern at the top here with the Josh Allen elbow injury, so we're going to monitor that. It wasn't too much panic here, but it is an injury that he's missed time with before early in his career. So we'll have to monitor this, see how he feels, if they're going to have to pivot to Case Keenum, which would be a revenge game against the Vikings at home there in Buffalo with Stephon Diggs, the combination of the Minneapolis Miracle. But Josh Allen, if he plays, I have him at number 2 this week, looking at where you can look at him, because I do like Patrick Mahomes at the Jaguars at home for the Chiefs. I think you'll light up that Jaguars defense. So Mahomes, also the passing volume is really high. We thought the Bills had abandoned the run, but the Chiefs have completely done that. So when you look at that, I look at Mahomes being the best player on the board. I think also the Jaguars can move the ball and maybe score a little bit on the Chiefs. So that's going to help Mahomes put up some numbers as well. So I have Mahomes ahead of Allen. If Allen plays, it's a good matchup at home against the Vikings. I know the Vikings have been pretty good defensively in certain matchups, but they can still give up the numbers. Their secondary is a bit weak. Their pass rush is a bit inconsistent. So Allen goes. I still have him as a top 2 QB this week, only behind Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts, lock him in against the Commanders. He's an every week start. He doesn't drop too far in our rankings here. He's number 3 this week against the Commanders. So he should do a little bit more running in that one. But that secondary stinks. That should open things up for A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith on the outside for some big plays to really help Hurts continue his high level of production without rushing, which is great to see for Jalen Hurts, where he's not dependent on the running to put up those nice fantasy football numbers. Now, would we like the running too? Yeah, we're greedy, but it's going to be hard when you get these overmatched opponents in weak matchups where they're not going to really be competitive here. That's going to probably curb Hurts from kind of putting himself in harm's way running when he doesn't need to. If he can build a big lead with his arm and turn it over to the traditional running game featuring Miles Sanders. All right, let's turn into our number 4 quarterback this week, Justin Fields. He is no longer that guy we're deciding whether we play or not. We're just going to play him every week. You look at the Patriots results, Cowboys results, Dolphins results. This guy is bringing it as a QB1. He's up there with Lamar Jackson with his running floor. It's absolutely high. It's a ceiling now, given that he just broke the record of Michael Vick for regular season rushing yards in a game by a quarterback. That's incredible for Fields. Almost got to the Colin Kaepernick stage that he put up in that playoff game against the Packers. So Justin Fields feeling as a runner. He's feeling as a deep thrower. He's feeling it as a red zone passer as well. So Justin Fields locked and loaded into your lineup every week going forward. I mean, he's navigated two tough matchups from produced. He gets a very easy matchup this week with the Lions. A little spoiler alert, he's going to be ranked this high next week as well because they play the Falcons. So Justin Fields, lock him in. Don't think about it. He's starting over every guy that I didn't mention there. Mahomes, Allen, Hurts are the only guys you're basically playing over Fields. And if you can move Fields, do it now. His value is never going to be higher. If you have one of those three quarterbacks and you just stashed him as a backup, again, you look at those three teams, they've also finished up here with their bye week. So, again, that's a good reason to trade Fields if you've just stashed him and hope to get a trade chip. Well, you have one if you have Mahomes, Allen, or Hurts. Now, Kyler Murray, look, it's frustrating to watch Kyler Murray, but he finds a way to put up the fantasy football numbers. Reality-wise, he's not playing all that well, but he's putting up the touchdown passes. Last week, he had two. He had one to DeAndre Hopkins, one to Zach Ertz. That's all we're looking for, a little bit of running. And boom, you have a QB1 here. And QB has been such a tough position this year that Kyler Murray's pretty much living up to the expectations. Now, we didn't really want him that high, but we had him in the middle of the QB1s, and that's where he's delivered at this point. So you can't go against that at all with Kyler Murray. I mean, that's the way he's playing, and that's what you're going to get from him now. Now, other guys that round up my starts of the week here at kind of loosely number 6, Tua Tagovailoa. I really like this matchup against the Browns. I know the Browns' run defense stinks, but really it's all about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, just facilitating these guys. His balls don't need to be perfect, and that's what you're seeing here from Tua. He's just going to take advantage of these receivers and their great matchups. And the Brown secondary could get Denzel Ward back this week. He was out with a concussion before the bye, but Ward, Greg Newsome, these guys are not playing all that well this season, so that's going to really help Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Those are the only tickets Tua needs for success here in fantasy football. So he's becoming a regular start because of those guys that are just helping him put up the numbers. He's not throwing deep to them. They're making big plays after the catch, taking it to the house. He's got a lot of speed around him in the backfield as well. Short passes becoming touchdowns. So Tua doesn't have to be perfect. He just needs to be a facilitator to put up fantasy points. Dak Prescott, the Packers are pretty tough on quarterbacks here, but I like him this week. Again, off a bye, Michael Gallup should be healthier. We'll look at Odell Beckham Jr. Is that rumor going to come through? But this passing game for the Cowboys is going to explode here soon. And this is going to happen here because, again, Packers without Rashawn Gary, their top pass rusher, Eric Stokes is banged up as well. It's a bad matchup here for the Packers pass defense that's getting depleted. Also, Devondre Campbell probably going to miss time, which will open up the middle of the field as well. Geno Smith and Tom Brady, I like them in the same game. I think this is going to be a sneaky high-scoring game in Munich there as we have a 9:30 p.m. or 9:30 a.m. Eastern time kickoff on Sunday. So our first NFL game in Germany should have some points. Geno can work that Bucs weaknesses pretty well with his key targets, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. On the other side, you can work the slot against the Seahawks with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, putting them in there. You can also throw to the tight end, so Cade Otton should be involved. So really like the matchup for both these quarterbacks. I think it'll be a little bit mirror image production in this game and a sneaky high-scoring game. I also like the running backs for now. Kenneth Walker and Leonard Fournette still has the starting job there. So really liking the Seahawks Buccaneers as a sneaky source of points, and that's why I want to attach myself to both quarterbacks in that game. And I think Brady will have a launching point from that big comeback drive in the fourth quarter with 44 seconds left against the Rams. Daniel Jones, I like this week. He's going to do some running and gets the Texans, so that helps that he's a running quarterback because the Texans are pretty good against passing quarterbacks because you can run all over them. That's my only concern with Saquon Barkley. But look, it's going to open up some shorter passes for Jones and running lanes for him itself at quarterback. So he's going to put up the numbers. I mean, the Texans were vulnerable last week against the Eagles, and I think Jones can have a good all-around day to put up a QB1 numbers. Trevor Lawrence should put up some high volume against the Chiefs this week. So I actually do like him on the road. And looking at Russell Wilson, you look at the Titans. Titans secondary is bad. That's their weakness, pass defense. They're pretty good against the run, very good, actually. They're dominant, so you're not going to get much from that ugly committee now facing Chase Edmonds there as part of the mix. So I like Russell Wilson here to throw the ball quite often. I like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton as well, and Greg Dulcich. So it's a great matchup for all those players that are attached to Wilson. So you think that will be a good day for Wilson out of pure volume. So 250 and 2 from Wilson you can definitely get. I think you can also get that from Matthew Stafford. Here, it's playing the Cardinals this week. So look, the Cardinals defense has been having its moments at times can make some big plays, but they're weak in the secondary still. I don't love Byron Murphy. He's better than expected, but you also have Marco Wilson, who's one of the worst corners, period. They're also struggling against a tight end. So I think 252, Wilson and Stafford can give you that, and that's really high upside given what you got from them earlier this season. So those are the quarterbacks that I like here at the top of the rankings and guys that I recommend to start this week and the reasoning behind it. We will get into the guys that I want to put on the sit side of things here on Locked On Fantasy Football Quarterback, and we'll get into the running back rankings that I have for this week. We'll do that in our next segment here. It is almost time for Thanksgiving, and did you know that over the holidays, property crimes such as burglaries and package theft spike nationally? That's why our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. That's why I love it myself. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking when you have a lot of family in town or staying over, and it could be an opportunity for everyone to think about what gifts you have out there and really want to kind of invade your personal space here. But SimpliSafe is going to give you that peace of mind here. They're going to be there for you and 24/7 around the clock. They have great technology. They have a great support team there that are going to take care of you, and that makes me feel safe. That's going to make you feel safe as well. And SimpliSafe just has this technology is off the chains here. Crystal clear HD live stream of your security cameras, wide variety of high-tech sensors, and just a way to know when a threat is real. And it's great. Our 24/7 monitoring agents there, really helpful when you need them, as well as the tech support staff at SimpliSafe there. SimpliSafe was named Best Home Security System of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report, a third year in a row. So check it out. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedon today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. Again, simplisafe.com/lockedonnfl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, it is time to continue the show here on Locked On Fantasy Football. And before we do that, thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Let's turn our attention to the quarterbacks that I do not like this week. So maybe a few surprises there that Brady, Wilson, Stafford, some veterans that have struggled that are going in. One other guy on the fringe that I would play is Jacoby Brissett. If you're looking for a deep streamer, you have Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson off, and you don't really have a backup, plug and play Jacoby Brissett. Again, he was the Dolphins' backup last year, so a little bit of a revenge game for Jacoby Brissett returning to Miami this week. One name I did not mention in the recommended starts, Justin Herbert. Yes, this matchup is not very good in San Francisco. This defense is going to be at full strength for the most part. They do have some secondary injuries, but Nick Bosa, this offensive line has no Rashawn Slater. They're going to get after Herbert. The numbers weren't there last week. A lot of Austin Eckler dependency. Joshua Palmer is really the only guy consistently getting it done. Gerald Everett, DeAndre Carter, not enough here. So I just don't see where the numbers are going to come enough for Justin Herbert in this game. Volume is a potential here if the 49ers go up big, but I think Eckler can steal the show here. Again, that's how you kind of have to attack the 49ers with a lot of Eckler. He's been a centerpiece of this offense, so I can't trust Herbert. I mean, we really liked him last week against the Falcons. Didn't come through with multiple touchdowns. In fact, threw an interception in that game as well. So Justin Herbert, can't recommend him against the 49ers. Kirk Cousins is another play that I don't like this week. Kirk is flexing. He's getting on the plane with his chains and is feeling great about this amazing 7-1 start for Minnesota. But Kirk Cousins in a bad matchup like this, the Bills do not allow much for quarterbacks, period. The way to beat them is to run. So a lot more Dalvin Cook this week. So Cousins is in a bad spot as Justin Jefferson could see some bracket coverage. And really between Adam Thielen and TJ Hawkinson, not a lot of good matchups there. So I don't see where the numbers are going to come enough from Cousins. So I do not have him in the top 12 this week. Jimmy Garoppolo, this is going to be a Christian McCaffrey show, folks. They're just going to hand the ball off. I think you could get 2 touchdowns out of Jimmy Garoppolo throwing on some short passes here. But I think yardage-wise, the 49ers are going to have a big day, but I think it's going to be a lot of McCaffrey in this one. So I'm just a little bit worried about Garoppolo not having the passing attempts in this one. So I'm staying away. I mean, the matchup is not terrible, and you could play him, but I think he might have a very limited floor this week just because of how well McCaffrey can gash this matchup. We saw that there with Austin Eckler. Same thing could be an effect here for Garoppolo if McCaffrey steals the show. Jared Goff, not going to play him. Look, the weapons are depleted here. No T.J. Hawkinson, no Josh Reynolds. Khalif Raymond not getting it done here. Pretty much down to Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot. They need Jameson Williams, the rookie out of Alabama, badly here. But Jared Goff, you cannot play with any kind of confidence, especially in a road game at Chicago. Aaron Rodgers, no way. That offensive line is beat up. You have Micah Parsons and the Cowboys defense coming in. Trayvon Diggs, Romeo Doubs is down. You lost another key weapon potentially in Aaron Jones, maybe missing a game. We'll have to monitor that all week. So they're dwindling here. The reliable weapons. Don't forget, Christian Watson was also put in the concussion protocol there after the Detroit game. So looking at Allen Lazard, a bunch of tight ends. That's a tough Cowboys defense. You cannot go there this week. I think the Packers' only shot of staying in this game is running the ball effectively. That's how you kind of attack the Cowboys there. So that also does not bode well for Rodgers' numbers this week. Derek Carr against the Raiders, or against the Colts, I should say. He is against the Raiders because he disappoints them with his second half play and makes them blow 17 and 20-point leads. So that's another story. But Derek Carr, again, the Colts are pretty stingy. You run on the Colts, and I think it's going to be a grindy type game here from the Raiders to try to win it. So I do like more of Josh Jacobs this week, but Derek Carr, absolutely not with the way he's playing. And really, he got lucky with the Devontae Adams touchdowns last week. It was a better week for him for sure, but I just don't trust Derek Carr from week to week here. In fantasy, I think he's very volatile, even when you think the matchup looks pretty decent. Marcus Mariota, I'm not going there. I know the numbers are there from 2 weeks ago in Atlanta, but this is in Carolina outside on a short week. It looks like a lot of rain could be in the forecast here for Charlotte. So that's not good for Mariota. It's going to be a run-heavy game script, you'd figure. I don't think you're going to get that duplicate of the shootout here at all. So I'm not going to go with Marcus Mariota. Andy Dalton, it might be tempting. The Steelers' defense has been all that, but I think they should get a little bit healthier on the back end as well as be a little bit more prepared for this. Andy Dalton just not playing well, and I think this will be another bad AFC North reunion game here for Andy Dalton. All right, let's go down with our running backs now that you're looking at here. So pretty much those are the guys that I'm sitting at quarterback. I mean, you can throw in some lower-end guys, Davis Mills and Kenny Pickett. I'm not interested in any of those guys this week, only if I'm in desperation with Superflex with Burrow and Jackson out. All right, at running back, Saquon Barkley has the best matchup on the board. This one was easy to put him at number one. He's playing against the Texans at home. Boom. Chargers, also a terrific matchup. That puts Christian McCaffrey at 3. Austin Eckler, I know the matchup against the 49ers is a little tough, but he's Austin Eckler. He's on fire. He's the Chargers offense right now, so he's at 3. Derrick Henry in a great spot at home against an overrated Broncos run defense. They're like Henry will keep smashing it. He's on fire, running really well, looking healthy. So Derrick Henry is good. Nick Chubb returns from a bye. Dolphins just got gashed in the running game by Justin Fields. They'll get gashed more in the traditional running game this week by Nick Chubb. Kenneth Walker is on fire. The Bucs run defense, not what it was. They actually let the Rams run pretty well when they were able to do that with Darrell Henderson Jr. Kenneth Walker, a lot better back. Kenneth Walker the third, a lot better back here than the junior of Henderson. So really like Walker to stay hot. Josh Jacobs, as I mentioned, he deserves some carries here. He's had 2 shaky games there in a row. He had that big blow-up game against the Texans. Everybody does, but playing against the Saints where they got shut out. Last week against the Jaguars was bizarre, playing with a lead that he didn't put up the numbers. So they're going to get the squeaky wheel, the grease this week, so to speak. Alvin Kamara, that Steelers defense still pretty weak against the run with the linebacker core. So Kamara should be in for a nice rebound game this week after running into the tough Ravens linebacker core on Monday night. Travis Etienne Jr., love him. Continue to play him against the Chiefs. Rookie Dameon Pierce. The Giants also don't have a good run defense. So Pierce is going to be the ticket for Houston taking the game, much like Philadelphia in that matchup. Dalvin Cook, again, they're going to have to feed Dalvin Cook a lot. Dalvin and James in the same game, yeah, he's going to be motivated. His brother's on the other sideline. So Dalvin's going to run pretty hard here this week. And again, he's the ticket to the Vikings possibly upsetting the Bills should Josh Allen play that game. Dante Foreman hasn't been great, but it's a short week. It's going to be hard for Chuba Hubbard to play. He should get the volume against the Falcons, whom he destroyed just 2 weeks ago. Leonard Fournette for now. We're going with him still. Rashad White is cutting into him a little bit, but I think he has one more chance. Seahawks are pretty weak against the run. He can't pass on them as well on the outside, so working in the middle and the run and Fournette on dump offs will help. Miles Sanders, the Commanders are pretty decent against the run, but Sanders is going to get it done. The positive game script. We'll watch for Aaron Jones if he plays. He's definitely in your lineup against Dallas. He's got a good history in that matchup. Tony Pollard, we're going to expect Ezekiel Elliott to miss another game right now as of this moment. But if that's the case, Pollard is in for sure. It doesn't matter if Zeke's coming back. I'm still locking in Pollard. And Cordell Patterson is in your lineup every week now that he's back healthy. Big game right away with 2 touchdowns against the Chargers. He'll keep it going on Thursday night against the Panthers. All right, so there is a look at your running back rankings. We'll get into running back starts and sits, the tougher decisions here at that position in our next segment and closing the show. This is a big year for me. We had a big anniversary in my house, the 10-year wedding anniversary, and really it wouldn't have been as special if I didn't involve Blue Nile to help the celebration sparkle a little bit more with a special gift. As the original online jeweler, Blue Nile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds at pieces priced significantly below traditional retailers. Blue Nile has helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring. Their easy online tools let you choose a diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jewelers will then help you handcraft a perfect one-of-a-kind engagement ring. Looking for a piece of fine jewelry to commemorate a special milestone, but still having trouble choosing? Blue Nile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. Shop stress-free with Blue Nile's 100% satisfaction guarantee. All Blue Nile orders are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging. They also overnight ship if you're in a rush. So Blue Nile is going to take care of you on time with the surprise you want. Make your moment sparkle as well with Blue Nile. Go to BlueNile.com and use the promo code LOCKDOWN to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's BlueNile.com, BlueNile.com. Code LOCKDOWN to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com, code LOCKEDON. All right, it is time to close the show here, looking at our running back start-sit decisions here. These are the guys on the fringes that we're deciding if we want to put in our lineup. So we had 17 must-start players this week. Jamal Williams, look, he didn't score last week, but he's still getting the ball. You got to put him in the Bears lineup this week with the running defense of the Bears really struggling. They let Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson both score by a run and pass last week. So DeAndre Swift, I'm not sure how healthy he is. I can't go in that direction there. So he's a sit for me. Williams is a start. Until I know how healthy Swift is, I don't want to play him there this week. Speaking of Mostert and Wilson, love them against the Browns. The Browns' run defense is pretty weak still. The Bengals did not exploit it at all, as they should have before the bye. So the Browns coming back. They might have shored things up a little bit, but I still think that's a big weakness for them. So Mostert and Wilson should also see plenty of running room as the attention goes on those wide receivers. That's going to help those guys as the speedy duo playing off Hill and Waddle. Another duo I like, David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. The Lions stink against the run. The Packers didn't exploit that enough with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon last week. The Bears, that's what they do, playing off Justin Fields. He's going to create a threat. It's going to help both running backs this week. So Montgomery and Herbert love them this week. Tyler Algier, it didn't matter that Patterson came back. Algier was involved. They're going to run the ball. This is what the Falcons want to do. They have their 1-2 punch in the veteran Patterson with the hybrid ability, and Tyler Algier right now. Caleb Huntley not in the mix at all. Deion Jackson, we're going to watch him. They might shut down Jonathan Taylor. We're going to watch that. The game script should be a little bit more even this week for the Colts, at least early. So that's going to help Deion Jackson get touches. But we'll watch that. If Taylor returns out, then Taylor is a start against the Raiders defense, who stinks at everything. But Deion Jackson can rebound this week. The Patriots matchup was rather tough. A.J. Dillon, they're going to need A.J. Dillon this week, especially if Jones is out here for the Packers. They need to reestablish a running game. They're going to overcorrect to that a little bit, and they need to stay in the game with the Cowboys. So I do like A.J. Dillon this week quite a bit in that spot. All right, now let's look at the running backs outside. I mentioned DeAndre Swift. Again, I don't trust the usage there in Detroit about Swift and what he might do here. I just don't. I mean, I've heard reports that he's healthy, but the snap count has been limited. They figure he'll be a little healthier this week. I don't know how this can happen until he gets truly rested. So I'm not buying into Swift. I'm not going to play him this week for sure until I know. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, folks. Don't be surprised if Warren is the starter. So we cannot start Harris. If you're in a deeper league, you can definitely look at Jalen Warren for sure this week. So don't be surprised there if that happens. So watch that. If you got Harris and Warren hoping for things there and you handcuffed Harris, maybe it might happen for you this week. So just watch that a little bit, folks. Jalen Warren not available in a lot of leagues, but if he's still out there away from Harris, yeah, go get it. Independent of Harris, you can pick up Jalen Warren right now. Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson Jr., everything at this point. I don't like either running back from the Commanders against the Eagles. James Conner not feeling it. The Rams are actually pretty good against the run, so I'm not going to go there. This week, Conner didn't look all that impressive. Last week, this offensive line interior is really beat up there. Max Garcia, Rodney Hudson, Will Hernandez, all these guys are really banged up in the middle, and that's not good against Aaron Donald and the disruptor this week. So I don't like that at all. So James Conner not in my lineup. Devin Singletary, it's not looking good here with his touches, especially with James Cook involved. Naeem Hines will probably get a little bit more involvement as well. So don't like Singletary in this type of matchup against the Vikings. I don't see it being a chance to play Singletary for positive results this week. We're looking at the Broncos. No, I don't know what you're going to get from the Broncos. Mike Boone is on IR. You have Melvin Gordon. You have now Chase Edmonds. You have Latavius Murray. And the Titans' run defense is nasty. Remember what they did last week against Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire? They basically made the Chiefs' running game a non-factor in the Broncos in the throwing game. That's why we like Wilson this week, because that's the only way you can really move the ball in the Broncos. The Titans. And you really have three weapons there that can give them problems in Judy, Sutton, and Dulcich. So there's no reason to really force run the ball if you're Denver this week. The Chiefs, yeah, speaking of Pacheco and Edwards-Helaire and looking at McKinnon, there's no way you can play any of these guys against Jaguars. I don't know who's going to get the ball. I just don't know. So it's a situational hot hand thing. Now you have Mecole Hardman being used as kind of an extension of a running game near the goal line. So not feeling it at all with these Chiefs running backs. And Andy Reid can do that. He can tend to abandon the run when Patrick Mahomes is hot, and he's going to keep doing that here. The results are positive. So I think they could pivot back a little bit more to the running game maybe when we get to December. But this matchup says it's okay, but I still think the Chiefs are going to come out throwing because they can definitely do that all day long against the Jaguars. The Rams, look, we have some good vibes about Kyren Williams. Cam Akers, maybe we're hoping for the best that he can return to action. Darrell Henderson actually still led the backfield. We'll see about that, but I can't play them against the Cardinals, any of those guys. I want to wait and see a little bit there. That Kyren Williams, if he gets back to action, they could ease him back. That's for sure here in fantasy football and reality football for the Los Angeles Rams. So there you have it. There's a look at your quarterback rankings, your running back rankings, your start to advice on those tougher decisions for both positions here on Locked On Fantasy Football. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. That's where you'll also find Locked On Fantasy Football. For Locked On Fantasy Football, this has been Vinnie Iyer with our quarterback and running back rankings. Tune in tomorrow when we give you our take on wide receivers, tight ends, and streaming defenses for Week 10.